thank you for joining us today on Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. I'm your host, Leah Love, and today we are so excited to have Miss Kiesha Butler, and we are going to be talking about planning your beautiful wedding. So it is wedding season still a little bit.
Yes.
And tell me how you came up with your business name, how long you've been in business, and the mission of your business.
Well, BeYoutiful Weddings has been incorporated since 2013. Actually, specifically September of 2013. So about 6 years.
Okay.
And I was just looking for a unique name, something that stands out. And when I was thinking about wedding planning, I was thinking like all the different aspects of it. And when it comes down to it, I was thinking about, it's really about you. It's really about something unique about your wedding, reflecting your values, who you are, something different. And so that's why I came up with the idea of Be You in BeYoutiful Weddings. So yeah, it's been great. Been
Congratulations.
Really Thank you.
That can be a scary journey to start your own business.
Indeed, yes it was, but it's worthwhile.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. All right, so what is holistic wedding planning?
Well, the term holistic is kind of something that I have, started off myself. It's not actually nothing tied up into the wedding industry per se. I just got to think about, wedding planning. We talk about finding vendors, working with families, finding cakes and all this other stuff. But it's a step further, I wanted something that when I work with my brides and the grooms, not just look at the wedding planning process, but I want to look beyond. Because why are you getting married? Mm-hmm. You're getting married to establish, your marriage. So I wanted to look at the whole aspect of wedding planning, whether it's self-care, looking at the financial piece, looking at communication, different areas that's going to take effect in the planning of your wedding. So that's why I got to thinking, oh, well, it's kind of like a holistic process. How can we tie that together with the actual wedding planning? So when I work with my brides and grooms, I just said, we're just going to term the COI here holistic wedding planning, because we're not just going to help plan your wedding. We're going to walk you through the process, and it's not just getting you through just that one day, that special day. We're going to get you past that point. We're going to work with you on, establishing your marriage, that foundation, and what goes on beyond that point. We all get excited about just the wedding, and it's fun. It's exciting, and it should be, it's, a special moment. But after that day, then what happens, And we work with brides and grooms about moving on that point.
Now, let's back up just a little bit. So a lot of times this term wedding planner is very broad. What is a wedding planner? Some people feel, I don't need a wedding planner. I can just do everything myself.
Right.
So what would be your advice as to, why you should utilize a wedding planner and what all they do?
Yeah, it's different terms for wedding planners. You got wedding planners, coordinators, wedding designers. Is what is the bride and the groom are seeking? What it is that you're seeking? Are you looking for a wedding planner to help with assisting with logistics, time frames, and so forth like that? Or are you looking with a coordinator? Most coordinators are just working with day of, month of services, things like that. Working in a short time frame, a scope. You're looking for a wedding designer, someone to actually help with, decorating your hall, your receptions and stuff like that. But, wedding planner, can do all of it, but you have to talk with your actual wedding planner, seek out the services that you're needing. If you want the kind of all-in-one, talk with that wedding planner and see what they're actually offering. Some people do not go beyond, they say, I just coordinate, that is it, and and I do this, A, B, C, and that's fine. That's what makes our field very unique. So when you're seeking out services, are you looking for somebody to help you from A to B, A to Z, then find that person. Some people want to be the handheld through the entire process. Some people say, no, I just need partial services. I might need you to step in and just, and help with, tying up some loose tasks and things like that. But I want to really be a part of my wedding planning process, and that's kind of in regards to the partial planning. And some people say I just need your short-term services just to help out the day of the wedding. You know, making sure the brides are, the bride and bridal party and the grooms are all together, they're lined up the right way at church. You know, making sure that we paid the vendors on time, making sure everything's run smoothly on that day of. So it's just what it is that the couple needs on their actual wedding day.
Okay, so your wedding planner basically is for the busy woman who decide, or man, who decides that
That's right.
they just do not have the time or energy or mental capacity to be able to handle all these planning logistics, and they say, we're just going to give that to you.
Yes.
And the coordinator basically is going to be the day of the actual wedding.
Right.
And she may meet with them,
Yeah, she
once
should.
or so
Yeah, she
before.
definitely. Yeah, usually
Okay.
sometimes they meet up. Probably about a month or two prior up to the actual wedding date, just to kind of get the feel for the bride and the groom and touch base about what their needs are, and following through on little time frames that have already been established. So that way is they're not coming in blind. They get the feel for the couple and so forth like that. But it's so many, so many terms out there. Everybody get loose to. I want to plan a coordinator and stuff like that. And sometimes people use the term interchangeably, but you need to know the difference between all of them. So it helps you
That's
plan
good,
your wedding.
because I think I would have lumped them in together, but that's good to know that they kind of work differently in that. But you
Right.
did mention time frames. What are some of the time frames that people need to be aware of, or the top 5 things that they need to get done initially after the big proposal?
Oh yeah, so you're excited. Most women have already planned this in their head before they even find the groom, or vice versa. So it's like, okay, sometimes they're already in the mode. So they got the ring, just like, okay, what do we do now? My suggestion is, of course, is work with your groom, work with your bride, establish your budget.
Okay.
We got these grand ideas. We want this. We have the Pinterest board and stuff like that. We got
Pinterest
cutouts.
got a lot of people in trouble.
Yeah, really, a lot of people. And, and they want this, they got the ideas in place and so forth. And that's fine, but can your budget accommodate that,
Right.
And that's important, because if you don't establish a budget, that's how fights and miscommunication occur. You don't want that to happen during your process of your engagement and your wedding and stuff like that. It's not necessary. So establish your budget first. After you guys establish your budget, then establish your 2 things. You can select your date or look for a hall. Because sometimes people get so hooked on the date that they want to say, okay, we got this date, June 26th, let's go find a hall. And they find a hall they love, but the date is not available. Then here we go, gotta find another venue. So you could either way. So if you find a venue, then say, oh, I love this venue, what dates are available? So you go vice versa. So then after that, then you got your venue, you got your date, and then it's more or less just scheduling the time frames from that point on. You want to go ahead and begin to identify the photographers and so forth like that, because sometimes when you want your engagement pictures and you want you want your other additional pictures, stuff like that, and the photographer does book it well in advance. And then from there, I think the last one would probably be just establishing the miscellaneous other vendors, things like that. I don't want to say that's not of urgency, but your cake, start looking for your dress, because sometimes we work with the standard year, but yeah, you can work. Yes, exactly. Some people say I only got 9 months. Some people say I got 6. And those dates, those time frames matter. Sometimes they have to be adjusted depending on the actual date and of your wedding and how soon it may be. So, but those are the things. The first 5 things you just really need to focus on.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the groom and the actual process of that. So how can a wedding planner and coordinator engage the bride and the groom in this process to really help them work together better?
It's meeting with them on a regular basis, communication, and because you could get a lot of miscommunication in the process. You know, brides, I told her this, or the grooms, did you mention, did you mention this? And your wedding planner should take great notes. If you've got the right planner, they should have, notes about the things that have been discussed, things that they need to follow up on, and stuff like that. So that's where your wedding planner comes in place and just says, working with them, constant communication, constant follow up, and just kind of the piece of just making sure that this wedding is really about them, because sometimes we get lost of expectations of family members, mother-in-laws, and things of that nature, expectations of others, and it's about really what is you guys envision for your wedding day, what aspects of the wedding day are important to you, what values, what traditions, what new things you guys want to incorporate, ceremony ideas and vows and things like that. It's really about the couple, and so your wedding planner should be able to dwell down on the couple and assess the needs and work through some of the challenges that they might have, against the groom has one idea, the bride has something. You got to be able to know how to, kind of work with them in negotiation tactics and things like that, because you're playing the middle person right there, and just and be able to kind of bring them back together. So it's you're playing a lot of roles, just a wedding planner. You almost feel like you're a counselor sometimes, a mediator, and all this other good stuff. But your right wedding planner will be able to assess the situation and work with you guys from the beginning all the way to the very end.
So one of the things is establishing your team. So the closest part of that team is going to be the bridal party.
Of course.
So what things should they look for in selecting that bridal party?
You know what? Your bridal party should reflect people that you have loved, supported you, has a genuine concern and care for you, about your well-being, about your relationships, that's going to support you, and not just picking up, oh, that's my girl, but we kick it and all that other stuff, and that's it. Mm-hmm. What about those times look at those friends or those people who have been there for you, that can be there for you, that if something really does happen, that you could pick up a phone and say, this happened, oh my God, and they could step in and say, okay, what can I do to help you? Because, when you talk about actual wedding planning, their roles and responsibilities, these are the people that needs to be there for you. We understand that we all got lives and we got kids and jobs and demanding things to do, but this is where your couple, the bride and groom, are really looking to you guys for support and help in the planning process. And so, sometimes it can be inconvenience. What in life is not sometimes. But they should be able to help ground you, help support you, and help, breathe that, help guide you and say, okay, this might be a little too much. Let's step back for a minute and just, hey, girl, let's go have a wine, to drink somewhere and just talk, or let's take a walk or something like that. They need to be the supportive. You talk about that village. You need your village in your bridal party, and if you don't have that, then why are they standing there with you on your most important day?
Working with brides as a stylist, I have seen a lot of different scenarios that have played out, and one of the ones being that some of the bridesmaids may not know their full responsibilities and roles, and or they're not as concerned for the bride as you would think.
Right.
So making sure that, they have their dresses on time, that they know what time they're supposed to be at the venue for the wedding day. Those have been some of the most challenging pieces that I've always seen, where they're not there on time, where they just gave the bride a lot of headaches. So in addressing that, if a bride has somebody who has just given them just a lot of trouble along the way, and they maybe want to cut ties with them, how would you address that as a planner? Should she be able to just come to you and say, can you handle that for me? Or would you just walk her through that process of?
It depends on the actual,
have you ever
situation.
had that happen?
Not quite there. I mean, but I have had brides that says, oh my God, she's challenging. She's always been challenging, and this is what we're going to expect. And that's sad in the sense that you have to deal with another issue on your supporting day, but it happens. But if a situation arises, then it's a matter of what I have done personally. I have actually worked with the brides and say, okay, what is what is that you would like me to do? You know, do you want me to talk with this bride? I mean, the bridesmaid, and then, you know, and then sit them down and explain the roles and responsibilities and how their actions and stuff like that is taking effect on you, or do you want to sit down with me? What is that you need? Sometimes brides say, you know, I'm paying. This is your responsibility. Yeah, I'm paying you. That's fine. You know, that's what you pay me for. I have no problem doing that. You know, but if you want to be part of that process too, sometimes they're just looking for a little support, and I get that. You know, you just need somebody to kind of just say, hey, to back you up and say, hey, yeah, that is right. You know, we got this. We're in this time frame. She really does need you. We got this other things going on, activities is going on. So, you know, your support is really, really needed. So if you could really just kind of be mindful of, you know, what's being requested from you, what's needed from you in this role, it will make the process on the bride and groom very, a little bit easier. So, you know, when challenging situation, it's not like it's not, it cannot happen. It happens. Sometimes bridesmaids lose a bride, you know, bride or two, you know, and it happens. But, you know, what I tell my bride and grooms, you know, this is your day. Your day. This is not contingent upon Sue or John or something like that. This is your day. If they are causing you stress and unnecessary stress, then you guys make the decision on whether this person shall continue in this role to support you on your special day. If not, you do not want this individual, then let's sit down, let's look at some remedies of how to fix this, because my job is to make sure this goes smoothly as possible. We don't need another distraction or issues on your planning of your special day.
And thank you again. If you are just tuning in, we are talking to Ms. Kiesha Butler about planning your beautiful wedding. She is our guest expert about planning your weddings today. All right, so what are some of the tools and resources that couples can utilize to manage their wedding or the planning of their wedding?
It's so many tools out there. You got your online resources. Some people seek guidance and support from your wedding planner.
What are some of your online resources you like?
Oh my goodness, it varies because each bride and groom are so unique. You know, as I go off the personality, I get to go off the vibe of the interaction between the bride and groom to help me plan their wedding.
Okay.
Because what works well for, you know, Amy and John may not work well for Susie and Edward. So, you know, it's just like, I step in, I assess them, get the vibe of them, and then look on, for instance, online resources, you know, to say, okay, if there's a communication problem, what can I do to better assist them on that matter? And what tools and things like that can we utilize to make it go a little bit smoothly? So it just depends on the actual couple, you know, because their personality is different, and the bride and groom are totally different than themselves. So, so it just depends on what's going on. And I think each of your wedding planners and coordinators would tell you the same thing too. They just, you know, try to get the vibe of the couple and then say, okay, well, I know this ain't gonna work for them, you know, but let's try this method here. So it's just again, just a method of just trying to assess the couple, but also, you know, they could seek tools and resources, not just from online methods, but, you know, from bridal shows, from family and friends. And, you know, one thing I think is very important too is mentors, people who have done, you know, been married before, that have been in the process, and or those who are, whether they have unfortunately been divorced and remarried and so forth like that. Marriage is very important. The wedding planning process is important as well too. You're going to run into challenges. I have never had a couple who's just been happy-go-lucky through the entire process. They get anxious, they get nervous, they get overwhelmed.
Speaking of challenges, and of course, you know, not mentioning any names or anything, but what have been some of the specific challenges that have come up that maybe somebody may not even be thinking about to try to help address or work through before that even comes up?
Oh, I think some of the challenge, to be honest, is communication. It's constant communication. Challenges is, you know, they have these thoughts and ideas, and they maybe not even mention it to the bride or the groom, vice versa, and they mention it to me. And then we go sit down and we're hashing things out, and they're like, I want this, or I have talked to this person, I booked this person, and so forth. And then you're the groom or the bride, they're looking at, what do you mean? And they don't have that communication, and they're angry. At that point, now they're angry because they don't want Joe Bob, doing the DJ, and they, they had ideas in mind, and they're mad, and it's what I find is the first thing is communication all the way through. If you don't communicate, it's going to be a bumpy ride all the way through. It's not even just saying for your wedding planning process. It's going to be a bumpy ride for your marriage as well too. Because if you can't communicate during the wedding planning process, something you would think is simple, but it is beginning to it's laying almost like the foundation for the process of your marriage. If you can't do that, then you're going to struggle in your marriage. And there's a way you could talk in a fair, healthy manner. Things don't always have to be a challenge, but it's taking things in consideration, being mindful of not just what you want, but what the other person wants and their expectations and what the needs are too. So that, I think, right there is the main challenge. It's always a communication, and then if you could work through that, if you could communicate and you communicate effectively, then I'm not gonna say it'll be easier, but it makes things make the process a little bit smoother, and then in dealing with other future challenges that may come up in the wedding planning process.
Okay. What are some of the things people tend to forget while planning?
First thing is the budget. They get overwhelmed and they have, again, high expectations about, they want swans, they want, they want this elaborate dress and stuff like that. They forget and they're like, oh, we got this, we got this, and then they're over budget by $5,000, $10,000. And if you have the money, great, that's wonderful. But don't let that be the downfall of the wedding planning process. There are different tools, things you can find online that can be cost efficient, that will look just as good than you paying $1,000 for on your wedding day. Because when you get past your wedding day, I'm sure you want a home if you don't already have one. You want to do other things. You want to kind of also maintain your lifestyle, your current lifestyle that you already have. And what it is you just got to maintain. You have to maintain that budget. And so they do. I don't think I ever had a bride that. I had one that close, that really was close to the budget, and I was just amazed. And so, but others, they kind of go, and I'm not just saying just brides, grooms too. They go a little haywire. Stick to your budget. Stick with your budget, and seek other resources.
So, what are some of the things that people should look for in a wedding planner?
Someone that's going to advocate for you, that understands your needs and wants, and can work between those two. One that is going to be able to mediate when necessary. One that is you're going to feel comfortable with, that you could trust, and one that is just going to be able to carry out your vision that you have for your guys' wedding day. It's nothing like getting the wrong planner or the wrong people involved in your wedding planning process that could really put a damper on it. So when you're seeking out a wedding planner, find somebody that's going to work, that you and the groom can work with, that will support your vision. In situations where there are challenges, be able to help and mediate when necessary, find alternatives if necessary, and they're flexible, and that, but also can be very firm when need to be, because when I say firm, they're not just working with you, you as a couple, they're working with your team, your bridal team, they're working with family members, they're working with vendors, so they need to be not just your best advocate, but they need to be able to be firm and stand strong, that you need to know that they represent you to the fullest effect. So if I put my trust in you, I know that you're going to go out there and you're going to go and negotiate the best rates for me, because that I'm budget conscious, that you're going to negotiate the best price and so forth. That I had that trust in you, that you're not just going to to go out there and do willy-nilly and so forth, that you really have taken our needs into consideration in the planning of our wedding.
Now, I'm not sure about this area, but do wedding planners need to be insured, or do brides have to insure them for anything, like if there's any disasters or anything that may happen?
Your wedding planners should be insured,
okay.
And if they are not, I know many wedding planners are not.
Okay.
you know,
Is it not something big that you really
it's
need
not,
to worry about?
I mean, I want to say you not need to worry about because sometimes depending on the situation. For instance, when seeking out a venue, I want to make sure that my brides know that, you know, you may need to be sure if something goes wrong, you know, working with the venue. Because the venue may require additional assurance for alcohol and stuff like that. And, you know, just in case something happens, there's a tornado, hurricane, your venue get destroyed, insurance comes in place. You know, if you don't have insurance, then what? You know, you got this expectation that, okay, well, I booked for you, so you need to fix this. And sometimes that doesn't always occur. Or there have been situations where venues have up and closed on brides.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, and now they don't have a venue and their money are out of money and stuff like that. So be insured. It doesn't hurt. If your wedding planner is insured, for them to be able to conduct their services, that's great. But like I said, I know a lot that are not. But check with them. I think you get that extra level of assurance, knowing that they're insured, that they, you know, they're have the right tools and resources in place to be equipped to do their job.
Okay, and on our final note, can you let people know how to reach you in case they would like to book you and reserve you for their wedding and special day?
Well, I could be found at BeYoutiful Weddings, beautiful-weddings.com, or they can find me on all the social media sites, on Beautiful Wed with Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook as Beautiful Weddings LLC.
All right,
Yes.
well,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a guest today, again, and helping our brides who are planning get a couple tidbits on their big day. So thank you for tuning in to Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. I'm your host, Leah Love. Have a great week.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.